The What to Read Next podcast helps you build a TBR of future favorite books. In each episode, Laura and Maine interviews authors and book influencers to recommend books they loved for you to pick up today. If you're an avid reader, always looking for your next great read, then the show's for you. Hi, Denise. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi, Laura. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am many things. I am a reader and a writer. That's just baked into my bones. It always has been. I'm a wife and a mother of 3 young girls. I am a lover of being in community with others and of creating space for people to be in community with each other. And I'm an educator in transition. I've been working as a teacher and a coach and a leader in education for 15 years, and I'm now looking to go back to my roots in writing and community building. And as a result, I recently started a blog and a community on Instagram called The Connected Reader. And it is a space for women who are caregivers. I identify as a mother, but I know caregiving is much more expansive than that. And particularly as women, we care for others in many, many different ways. And I've created this space because I know for me, when I am reading, I'm connecting to myself, I'm connecting with my kids, and I'm connecting with others. And I know there's other women out there who want to make that time and think similarly to how I do.
So we're going to chat a little bit about that. But before we get there, what was your reading journey look like? What kind of books you read? Like when you were starting out, were you a reader growing up, or like did you start later in life? Like what kind of genres do you tend to gravitate?
Yeah. So I was the child who was off in the corner reading at all of the family gatherings. I was very antisocial, introverted, like lost in the world of books. And when I went to college, my reading life really stopped. And I was an English major, so I was just reading for school. And then I became a teacher, which was a very, very busy job and lifestyle. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I got back to reading and making space for reading in my life. And in the last 10 years, as I've got married, had children, it has really been a lifeline for me and something that I prioritize and make time for. And I am a huge mood reader. I know you've talked a lot about that on the podcast. I've become a mood reader. I didn't used to be. And I love reading. Like the genres that I go to that are comforting for me are middle grade, YA, romance, women's lit, and any good story about a family. I really love. Oh, and cozy mysteries. I cannot forget the cozy mysteries.
I love this. I love that you chose like very cozy, very like comforting, very like really like, I don't know, like mood reading vibes are just like cozying it up, drinking coffee, like with a blanket, maybe a rainy day, like
that is the ideal.
It's like the ideal world. It's like, I just want to be paid for reading,
living the dream. That is the dream, Laura.
Yeah. So, all right. So looking at that, talk to us about how were you able to manage reading, incorporating reading while keeping a full-time job, managing kids, managing your schedule, being a caregiver, doing it all. How did you incorporate reading?
It's not easy, right? I'll say that first of all. As I think about how I put reading back into my life, I kind of think about it in 3 parts. Mm-hmm. And the first part is coming back to why I read. Mm-hmm. And for me, reading is how I refill my tank. And so more often than not, it is my default activity. It is the thing that I know is going to make me feel better, allow me to like process and be more present in my life. That doesn't mean I don't scroll on my phone and I don't binge Netflix. I do that too. But I really try to root myself in reading as my like primary activity I do for fun, because I know it's going to fill me up. The second part of how I think about it is the actual how of reading. And this is something that's changed a lot for me in the last 10 years or so, as I've added all of these caregiving responsibilities. Um, I have become a huge mood reader. And for me, that means letting go of the guilt and like shame of like not reading the award-winning literary fiction books, not reading the latest book on, you know, productivity and leadership and all of these things, like actually just reading books I want to read because I know I will pick them up and read them.
Mhm.
The other piece of that is abandoning books. I have abandoned more books in the last 3 years than in my life, like total. Like I just am very clear on if I am not wanting to pick this up, if I'm wanting to pick up my phone or pick or watch a show on Netflix, like this book is not for me right now. And I kind of like Marie Kondo it. Like I thank you for your service and I place you to the side. It's just not
Mhm.
working for us right now. And then the third thing is having multiple books going at the same time. I never did this. I would have judged you for doing this like 10 years ago. And now it works for me because it meets my mood. So I usually have 2 physical books. I'm still a physical book reader, a fiction and a nonfiction. I have an audio book, and then I usually have a read aloud book with my 7-year-old.
I love this. And I'll convert you to ebooks sometime soon. You know, once you
I
realize
do not have an e-reader. I know
once
that
you
is
realize
my
once you realize you can read at night and you're and like in the dark space, you can read. The font gets bigger as I get older. Anytime I can make the font bigger, it's like amazing. I'm like, oh, this is
that
cool
is so
stuff.
real.
And it's
And,
like, yeah.
and that reminds me, like the when is really important too.
Yeah.
When I find the time to read in the day and what
Yeah.
that looks like. Audiobooks have changed my life in that way,
Yeah.
right? Because I can read them when I am adulting.
Mm.
And so it makes my daily walk better. It makes doing the dishes better, doing the laundry, running the errands. I will sit in curbside groceries and listen to my audiobook, and I'm not even bothered that it takes 20 minutes longer than I thought it would.
Yeah.
So that's really huge. The other big thing of when I read is I got this from a mom blogger out there called Busy Toddler. And she talks about sittervising, which means your children are doing an activity that requires you to like watch them, but not be involved. I do so much reading because
Yeah.
I am a huge sitterviser.
Yeah, my friend Addie, she's gonna be in the show. Like, it'll air beforehand, and I'll connect it. She said the same thing. She's like, that's how I realized I can start reading when my kid was watching TV. He just needed to be around, but I can just read my book. I don't need to watch the TV with him. You know, I can actually just read my
100%.
book, you know. And I think it's like it's allowing yourself let go of that mom guilt. So like, I need to watch a show. Like, it's okay. I can read my smutty book on the side. They don't care what you're reading. You know?
It's huge. When you have that realization, your life changes.
Yeah, like you can let go of the guilt. It is okay. It is okay to take care of, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then take care of others. You know?
That's it, 100%.
Yeah. So what do you like in terms of community? What kind of community do you would like to see, like for Connected Reader? Like, what's your ideal world community, and like how can we join, you know, and help you? You know?
Yeah, so I would love for everyone to subscribe to the blog. It's www.theconnectedreader.com. And I'm also on Instagram at The Connected Reader. Love for you to follow. I do a ton of content and stories of just my everyday reading life and polls and sharing what I'm currently reading. I also started doing something in the last few weeks called Rapid Reads, which the moment I finish a book, I just jump on stories and share my immediate thoughts on the book. And then on the blog, you'll see more book lists, longer reviews, and me talking more about how I incorporate reading in my life.
Love this. All right, let's chat some book recommendations because this is a book recommendation show. So you have any books to recommend our listeners to pick up?
Do I have books, Laura?
I
Of
know.
course I do.
And I send those questions beforehand so people cannot be like, books? What are those? What are you supposed to do? What did I read?
I love it. So I have been shouting about this book and others have too, but when I say it was life-changing, I'm not being hyperbolic. It just like met me at the right time this past summer. And the book is Find Your Unicorn Space by Eve
Mhm.
Rodsky. It is actually a nonfiction book, but I
Mhm.
think your listeners could really enjoy it because it is about finding your creative space as an adult. And particularly for women, we lose this space. Even if we had it as children or young adults, we lose it. And it's really meaningful to find it again because it allows you to just play and explore in a way that fills you up and allows you to be present for yourself and your family. And it's really the inspiration for why I started The Connected Reader. So Find Your Unicorn Space by Eve Rodsky. The second book that I wanted to talk about is one I read this fall that was just the epitome of seasonal fall reading, and you have to put it on your TBR for next October. And that is The Wolves Are Watching by Natalie Lund. This is
Mhm.
a young adult mystery thriller. And I do have to say, Natalie is a friend of mine, and she is an amazing writer. The cover of this book is the spookiest I've ever seen. My children are scared of it and wanted me to like hide the book. And the first page just had me absolutely chilled. It is so, so good and so layered. Um, and then the third book that I wanted to recommend was actually a young adult trilogy, fantasy trilogy, Fireborn, Flamefall, and Fury Song by Rosaria Munda. And I've read a lot of YA trilogies in my time, and this one just felt so unique. It has the romance, it has like the action and life or death feeling, but it also has like a very nuanced discussion of like power and making the reader feel like everyone is not all good and all bad. We're kind of like in the middle here. And just one of the most compelling YA fantasies that I've read in a while.
I love this. I love all these recommendations. So tell us where you can find you online.
Yeah, so I'm at on Instagram at the Connected Reader, and I am on my website at theconnectedreader.com.
Thank you, Denise, for being on the show.
Thank you, Laura.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For a list of books mentioned and other romance recommendations, please visit whattoreadnextblog.com. Did you know you can purchase audiobooks directly from your favorite local bookstore? With Libro.fm, you can pick up more than 250,000 audiobooks, including bestsellers and recommendations from real booksellers. You get the same audiobooks at the same price as the largest audiobook company, you know the name, but you'll be part of a different story, one that supports your local community. If you're new to audiobooks, there's a perfect way to squeeze into more reading into your busy life. Listen with the free Libro FM app while you do your chores, walk your dog, relax at home. The Watch to Read Next podcast has a special offer for our listeners. Get 2 audiobooks on Libro FM for the price of 1 with your first month of membership. Use code WhatToReadNext. This offer is only valid for new members in Canada and the US. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.